Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Brenham, Texas. And it is August the 2nd, 2023. And we are going to jump right into the report, starting with our sun. Our solar report is definitely got some things going on in it. We were just hit yesterday during the super full moon um, with a CME. It was a minor CME, right? So probably didn't cause that much interruption. You might have even blamed it on the moon if you had slower internet or communications and tech issues. But that hit yesterday, combining with that super full moon. Also, the sun is on its 5.9 month uptick, which should be peaking here in August this month. And that 5.9 month uptick is an uptick in sunspots and solar storms. So that usually means an uptick in solar flaring and solar coronal mass ejections. Usually a reduction in coronal holes, so that's good. So we are going to see the continuing of that uptick in solar flaring with a possible minor CME that just popped off last night. So one impacted last night and one popped off. It probably is heading in Earth's direction. It'll probably be here by Friday. Eyes on the sun. Those things, just a reminder for those who might be new to the channel, when coronal mass ejections hit, usually that causes an uptick. And of course, going along with the moon, you probably didn't notice this uptick because people think behaviors increase during full moons. But any kind of mental spectrum you might be on, whether that's a disorder or whether that's a syndrome or whether that's spectrum, it might be triggered during this time. So more irritable. If you have autoimmune diseases like lupus or something, some of your symptoms might be triggered. If you have any kind of heart issues, those could be triggered, whether it's high blood pressure or low blood pressure. You might have spikes in either direction. A lot of times, people that aren't on any kind of things like that and are generally healthy, they'll still experience these CMEs as like a heart palpitation or the beginning of anxiety. It'll be in between the center of the chest and the throat. So right up here in the high heart. And you'll sort of maybe even a shortness of breath for a brief second. That'll be some of the symptoms that sort of happens during these kinds of events in the sun. But the weather is going to continue through the month, so pay attention to that. And then also, not just physically as humans and our technology, the Earth itself increases with the intensity of storms that are already happening, right? So the solar weather can cause hurricanes to be worse, thunderstorms to be worse, winds to be higher, temperatures to be more extreme. So if it's already hot, like it is down here in Texas, it can get hotter and drier even. Which leads us into today, Wednesday, 8/2 for the regular stars. The regular stars. Today, we're still feeling the effects of the super full moon that was yesterday. So that super full moon energy is going to be moving on into the day. And the super full moon is still occurring while we have the planets that are in retrograde of Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Venus, and Chiron. So those planets still in retrograde are going to have an effect on what this full moon does for you or this full moon is doing to you. And so all of those being in retrograde, Pluto about past lives, Saturn about structure, Neptune about spiritual gifts, Venus about love, Chiron about old wounds, right? All of those things might be sort of triggered during this day or couple of days. We're in the sun sign of Leo, right? So alchemically, Leo is the heart and then the motor nerves. So usually I'm going to say you're going to sort of feel this in the hips, but basically the energy or the desire to move, right? Sometimes when you sort of have been sitting for a while and you don't want to get up, and there's that sort of pause in your mind telling your body, okay, get up now, get up now. That kind of energy is associated with Leo, right? Sometimes that's associated with courage, right? So sometimes you might be tempted to say that it is a lack of courage that is causing emotion, immovability. And so when you sort of jump back into that, you can, or you pay attention that might be occurring, then you can sort of override that. You can sort of override your attitude to make your body do what you need it to do. So pay attention to that kind of energy that might be happening under this. Also, we are still in that 20-year cycle. We're just at the beginning of it, right? So this will be effective definitely for a couple of months, if not the first couple of years of this new 20-year cycle. Now, the nodes aren't going to stay in this, but Aries and Libra haven't been in the north and the south node of the moon for a while. So that moon would be really, full moon would be really inflaming that kind of energy that we talked about last week. Go back and check that video out if you need to know what I'm talking about. And then also, old relationships might be brought up during this time, and even your past lives. So if you've been here more than once, which many of us should be, then you'll start to have glimpses of potentialities that are important for you to know. Skills that you might have been lying dormant will be sort of triggered during this time. Leads us into tomorrow, Thursday, August the 3rd, beginning the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde. That's going to be pre-shadows about 2.5, 3 weeks. The Mercury retrograde is occurring August 23rd and 24th, somewhere in that time period, depending on which side of the planet you are on. So pay attention over that time, over these next 3 weeks, to themes that are in your daily thoughts, right? So if you're having repetitive thoughts, probably something to do with when the planet Mercury goes retrograde. So these repetitive thoughts that you're sort of daily dealing with, it could be thoughts about relationships, but it's maybe communication issues. So retrograde or Mercury is about how are you communicating this, right? So you might be getting information about that. That's going to be over the next 3 weeks. So you want to monitor your thoughts, because what those thoughts are doing is when you get to the time of Mercury retrograde at the end of August, that will be the time to solve all those things. So you might be getting clues as to what you're going to be working on during Mercury retrograde. But that pre-shadow starts Thursday, tomorrow. Weekend looks pretty normal. Pay attention to the sun. If you have any of your sun monitoring channels that you weather channels you watch on the internet, check those out over the weekend to see if any super flares or anything come our way. But Monday is the next energy day that we need to pay attention to, and that is going to be Monday, August the 7th, is a 22 master day. So all of this energy, all of these planetary movements, and the reason these planetary movements sort of make sense, right? It's not like they are detached from what's going on a magnetic and energetic realm. They are causing the space that we exist in to shift its vibration, right? So it's kind of like when you go into different rooms or different locations in your life, whether you can come into work and you can tell somebody's gotten fired, or there's some weird energy there, or you had a bad customer. The inner place is the same, but the energy feels different. So when these planets shift around, that's the kind of thing that's really sort of happening, and why these combinations of things matter. It's not just sort of detached from our physical reality. And so when we get to Monday, the 7th of August, it's a 22 master day. So all of these energies are really you gathering a mastery over the energy field that you are and its connection to the energy field that you're in. And so 22 is really a day to use some of these cosmic influences to decide what are you taking with you into a future, right? This is almost like you're packing for a vacation, because the energy is shifting so quickly and so intensely, and more people are taking control of their own energy and responsibility for it. So this is almost like you're going on a vacation and you need to decide what you need to pack, but it's going to be an extended vacation and you may not be able to come home, right? So it's almost like you are creating an energetic spiritual go bag for what you would like to be, and you're deciding what you would no longer like to be, and you're trying to leave all that stuff behind. So when you hit 22 master days like that, those are the kind of days where you have the power and the insight and the focus to do such things. And then the 7th, Monday, is the day before Tuesday, 8-8. So the 8-8 gateway, or the Lion's Gate energy, right? And so that comes once a year, obviously, because there's always an August 8th. But why that's usually important for us is that Lionsgate is an alignment of our sun, the star Sirius, which is in Orion's belt, and the Earth. And so that alignment is an opening or a gateway or a shift into this potentiality, right? So if you're thinking of an alignment, it's almost like if you've got a telescope aligned or you've got a beam of light from a flashlight sort of moving through trees, and then all of a sudden it goes through a clearing and you can see your direction you need to go. That's the kind of energy that's really happening on Lionsgate. The lore or what's the mythology around Sirius is really about honor, wealth, ascension. If you're into like most people are these days, or if you're paying attention to it, if you're into alien disclosure, the alien peoples that are from Sirius are usually thought to be very high-minded. So the ability to have the right structures built around themselves to ascend or to become higher spiritual beings. And so a lot of what people sort of assigned that group is about giving humans the spiritual technology to become more human, superhuman, angelic human, and sort of help the human along in this ability or strife to raise their vibration, become their own original spiritual selves, right? So their higher selves. Should be a powerful 3-week window, right? So that opens up on 8/8 Lionsgate. And it's about 3 weeks of energy. It's also halfway between solstice and equinox, or equinox and solstice. So pay attention to that sort of energy of a shift. And that's also why that energy goes pretty well. And so that's also if you're into Egyptian mythology, Orion's belt, you know that the pyramids on Giza are aligned with Orion's belt, right? And so that sort of alignment is this idea of Egyptians being able to ferry themselves into the higher realms or to the afterlife or to a higher level of being human. So pay attention to that. That is all that's happening this week because that's Tuesday. We go from Wednesday to Tuesday, but just some highlights that are going on for the rest of the month that you want to maybe put on the calendar and pay attention to. Venus, which is in retrograde on August the 13th, is going to be between Earth and the sun. So that's when you sort of see that little crossover. You'll see it on maybe even the news channels. They'll show the little shadow of Venus moving across the large sun in between us and us being on Earth and the sun. The 23rd, Mercury is going to go into retrograde. The 28th, Uranus is going to go into retrograde. And then the 30th, we're going to have a second super full moon. It's called a blue moon. It's not going to be blue. It might be bluish, but it's just the name they give to a second super full moon that happens in 1 month. And of course, in between there, when the moon goes new, right? So we're at full right now. So in between those two dates, now and the 30th, I think it's around the 15th, we'll also have a micro new moon, right? So it'll be farther. So super means it's closest to the Earth it's going to be all month. And then micro means it's farthest away from the Earth it's going to be all month. So the elliptical movement of the moon around the sun of Earth, it'll be farthest away. So it's going to be a micro new moon. So that's going to be the ability to really sort of choose a new start. And that's going to be happening during that Mercury retrograde pre-shadow window. That's going to be during Lionsgate, right? So there's a whole lot of ability, not necessarily bad things that are happening, but really this time, this place, this opportunity, that's the word I was looking for, to be and create new stuff. And that's why August is really the beginning of new things. I think it's for people that are in school. You're going back to school soon. And so that's why it's the beginning of learning, right? So don't divert yourself with learning necessarily earthly things. Pay attention to what you're learning about yourself and how you're sort of creating a cosmic relationship with yourself and the stars, and then how that energy can broadcast itself and influence what's happening in culture. And you'll sort of see some of these things happening in culture too. There's a lot of things around Lionsgate and this last super full moon that are around justice. And you might have seen weird court cases and justice system things happening in your nation. I know there's been some stuff in the United States that's been interesting for some people to watch. But a lot of that stuff is also a distraction from what could be opening and awakening in yourself. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. Be aware of your environment, be aware of where you live, but pay attention mostly to nature and the ability or the interaction of that energy with your own heart, with your own mind. And that will actually, instead of looking outside of yourself to where you should go, you'll actually find your inner compass when you do those kinds of things. That is this week's Star Report. Of course, here I am at downtown Brenham, Texas. Again, like I said, and if any of these things are helping or needing to be assisted with any of your transitions or understandings of this energy and how it's affecting you, you can obviously go to newdimensionscrystals.com and sign up for a session if you are in the area for a consultation. That could be something as simple as a tarot reading, any kind of energy session, which would be things like Reiki would be occurring during that. And we can sort of cleanse and or align your energy. And then, of course, one of the easiest things to do, because we all have breath, and you can repeat the process after you have done your session here, one-on-one breathwork sessions. That is still okay to bring a friend. So it can be one-on-two breathwork sessions where we can actually focus on things that are needing to be worked on with you. And you can train your own body to help you move spiritual energy. That'd be a fun thing. And then, of course, we also supply any of the tools or lots of the tools that you might need for your own spiritual journey: incense, candles, crystals, and other such items. So until next week, everybody, many blessings.